This is my last response about the AC Shadows controversy and whatnot, and I believe this whole situation is absolutely shambolic. Disgraceful behavior. It's like Hogwarts Legacy, but for the side of the right instead, for the side of the anti wokes instead. People are going absolutely mask off, extremists over a video game. Alright? Now, I have AC Shadows. I have the game. Let me pull it up for you right now that I do have it. Hold on, give me 1 second. One, the folks who will call almost anyone a shill for liking this game, you're a Ubisoft shill. You never criticized anything about Ubisoft whatsoever, which is so funny given the amount of screen caps that I have right here. So number one is this is me on Discord in my own server, and I'm talking about Ubisoft and I'm giving them criticism. Alright. Where it says someone is calling me a shill, but I 100% am on record saying that I did not like how Rainbow Six Siege turned out with everything after year 3, and I also did not like Ghost Recon Breakpoints. People, not only am I criticizing how they handled Siege after the fact, but I made a video about 5 years ago, and I made fun of a Ubisoft game, and I said this game was the ultimate glitchathon. A bunch of glitches that I encountered in the Ghost Recon Breakpoint beta. So much so that I didn't even get the game because of it. I did not buy this game because of it. I saw the most shambolic shit in this beta to where it didn't even make sense. You see me on a rock right here, just stuck. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I can't be revived. This is absolutely absurd. That is not shill behavior if you are literally going on record and saying that, look, this game is buggy as shit, alright? I don't like I'm not getting this game at launch and I
In this part of the video he's complaining about how people are complaining about AC Shadows. More on that later. So right now we're getting into the risque convo of being a shill. So, let's get into that. Right now the person in question, Renegade Operative, is being excused of being a shill for Ubisoft. Now, as the footage I showed you shows, he has critiqued at least 2 Ubisoft games, but let me continue this little review on him. The problem here is that Ubisoft had more misses than hits these past few years. Their recent failures, Star Wars Outlaw, Sea of Thieves. Now, there was AC Mirage, but that was a lucky break. Beyond that, the company has been on a downward spiral. AC Shadows, even before launch, was on everyone's shit list. For a variety of reasons. The gameplay, story, culture inaccuracy, and later on, bugs shown in trailers, and even in live streams, before the game's release. So from the perspective of the common man, which, we will come back later. A lot of people were not thrilled about this game. And when it was given to journalists and critiques, it was obvious that they would give it a high review, regardless if the game was stable or not. Which, gave people the impression that only select people would give this game an outstanding review. Now I'm not saying, cursing, or harassing people is okay. But people are gonna question other people giving this game a glowing review. Doesn't help that in your video you gave this game a pre-score, since you haven't beaten it yet. An 8 out of 10. And since many people have not seen your prior critique on Ubisoft, it's easy for randoms to assume you're a shill. Sadly, you gave a high review for a game that's being shat on by a lot of people who do not like this game. For, again, a variety of reasons. He later goes and say he finds it bullshit that people gave this game a review score of 0s, 1s, 2s, 3s and I think 4s. I agree, 0s and 1s. Harsh. But 2s or 3s are reasonable. I don't understand why someone can't rate AC Shadows a 2, or 3, or 4. It just comes across as shill-like behavior on your end, which is funny, because you're complaining about people calling you a shill. But say that people who give AC Shadows a low review scores, are being quote-unquote disingenuous, which is funny to me. Moving on.
Now let's see where we're gonna. Oh man, the fucking sales. All right, so we are into sales territory at this rate. There is a bunch of people arguing about sales, argumentation about how this game is doing, looking at certain metrics like Steam charts. Oh, haha, it didn't sell as much as Velguard because there's not enough players that are topping Velguard right now, right? Where they said, oh, Steam charts is sitting at 61K. That is a dumb argument. That is a stupid ass argument. That argument is fucking dumb because look, I said it before, I'll say it again. Why are you looking at Steam charts as any indicator whatsoever of how a game sold overall if we're talking about a fucking multiplat?
In this section of his video, which is 13 minutes long, he goes over 5 points that I find very interesting. The first one being how people use Steam as measurement to determine player numbers. The second being how quote-unquote grifters are using absurdly high sale estimates, like 200 million or 300 million copies sold, or needed to be sold for AC Shadows to be a hit. The third being how dumb it is to compare single players games to multiplayer games. The fourth being how that a game's poor sales do not indicate the quality of the game. And lastly, how controversy sells games. Now, there were a few other points he brought up within that 13-minute time span. However, these 5 points are good enough on their own to go over. So, without further ado. So, in his first point he brings up how dumb these grifters are, for using Steam numbers, as a way to measure the number of players playing a game. He even brings up how AC Shadows is a multi-platform game, available on Xbox Series X and PS5. But the problem here with his complaint is, dumbass also doesn't know the number of players on PlayStation and Xbox consoles. If people had access to this information, dumbass, they would include that in their guesstimate. Listen, renegade. People, including people in your own circle, also use Steam player numbers to indicate the sales and popularity of a game. No shit, Sherlock, people don't include console sales. Because they don't know the number of players on console. But they don't dismiss them when they use Steam numbers. Because, and this is important, renegade, something is better than nothing. So, it's either Steam player numbers to denote the popularity of a game, or nothing. What? Are you gonna say not even bother to use Steam at all? You also bring up, in this section of the video, how people who don't use console numbers, or numbers from Ubi Play, are idiots. But that's the thing. People know of that shit. But they don't have access to the tracking to include that into their videos, or guesstimate, you fucking idiot. You act like they exclude that from videos, or whatever, out of bad faith, when in reality, they just don't have the numbers. And neither do you. So why are you on their dick so much, buddy? Alright, moving on to point 2. Alright, in this second point he brings up how grifters are saying AC Shadows needs like fucking 200 million copies to be considered a bestseller for Ubisoft. Now, I'm not sure if he's being sarcastic here, I am uncertain. So, for the sake of entertainment, let's assume he's a dumbass, and pretending to be retarded. And that he actually thinks, people who do not like Shadows, believe this game has to sell, actually, 200 million units, or more, to succeed. So, let's get into it. None, and I mean none, of the channels I follow, threw out such an absurdly high number. Like fucking 200 million, or, as you said in the video, 300 million. For AC Shadows to sell well. The highest I heard from them. 7 through 10 million. And the reason why they guesstimated that is because they believe a lot of money was poured into this game. Thus, a large amount of money had to be earned for this game to be considered good, for Ubisoft. There's logic there. But no, instead of you pulling reasonable numbers out ya ass, you pull absurdly high numbers from fucking nowhere. Now, this estimate didn't come from thin air, mind you. No, it probably came from a dumbass comment you so happened to come across. Now, there isn't a problem of making fun of a comment that said something that's stupid. Like how a game needing to sell 200 or 300 million units for a single-player game to succeed. Comments like those are retarded. No, my problem isn't that you mocked something that's stupid. No. My problem here is that you are using one or a few people to say that AC Shadows need to sell 200 or 300 million units. When in reality, no one is saying such absurdist shit. No one on this side of the anti-woke is throwing out numbers that impossibly high. Every time I see them, guesstimate the sales of a game needing to hit a certain target goal. It's usually in the range of 5 through 6 million. Never such absurd ass numbers. But your simple ass are using fish in the barrel comments to say everyone from anti-woke side believe in this. And lecturing to them that they're dumbass. No one, by and large, are using numbers in the hundreds of millions to say that a game needs to reach that number to sell well. Hell, you won't even be able to find any examples of this from any of the grifting YouTubers you don't like. Wanna know why? Because you used offhand comments from dumbass to use against a group of people you don't like. You talk about people being disingenuous, but here you are doing the exact same thing. Again, no one who dislikes AC Shadows is throwing out such an absurd numbers like that. Hell, you even bring up Madden Football. And how much that game sells. Well, if you look at this. That game only sold 130 million units. And your dumbass actually think, people are that stupid that they think this single-player game needs to sell, what was it? Yes, 200 or 300 million copies. Yet, the world's most popular sports game only sold 130 million units. Again, you are coming off as a jackass. Because if you talk to anyone else about this, they'd think you're retarded. Or trolling them. Hell, I think you're trolling me, right now. So, his third point is actually big, so let's dissect this motherfucker. So, as mentioned prior, in the third point he makes, he brings up how dumb it is comparing single-player games' concurrent player numbers to that of a multiplayer game's concurrent player numbers. And the general stupidity of people comparing the two. Now, he's not wrong there. The number of concurrent players for a multiplayer game is more important than that of a single-player game. Because you need players for a multiplayer game to be, well, active. So obviously the numbers for a single-player game is less important, unlike for a multiplayer game, right? Now, while he was talking about concurrent player numbers for AC Shadows, he, as per usual, misunderstood a point from the anti-woke. In his video he mentioned how players would fall off, because after beating a single-player game, of course you wouldn't go back for round 2. Unlike an online multiplayer game. But that wasn't the point being made by the anti-woke. The fall-off mentioned wasn't for concurrent players. No, it was for new players. You see, the game's popular now, and the popularity of a new game is why it has the numbers that it has. But after a while, the game's popularity will drop off. And thus, less people will be interested in the game. Thus, the fall off. Sadly Renegade, in his oh, so infinite wisdom, misunderstood that. And thought the fall off was from concurrent players, and not, new players. Which will, further impact the game's sales. Also, he mentioned how AC Shadows has more player numbers than Concord, and finds it funny that people are comparing the two. Which is unironically funny. He made a whole-ass rant about using Steam numbers to denote the popularity of a game. But then uses Steam numbers to show that AC Shadows has more players than Concord. Bonus points. Because he's acting like AC Shadows dwarfing Concord, is this amazing achievement, when, it's not saying much so. Kinda weird why he's making that into a victory. I mean, he didn't actually say it in the video. It was more like a side note, type of thing, just written in text. That he added in post-production. But, yeah. And now the fourth. Now, this is an interesting one, and probably should be considered a two-parter. Because this dumbass actually believes, people look at the sell numbers for a game before deciding to buy it. He mentions in the video, how he doesn't uses the numbers of copies sold, from a game to buy it. Which is, fucking weird to bring up. And keep in mind, the opinion he has about not buying a game based off of how many units it sold, is different than his opinion, that the quality of a game, and the units it sold, are not one and the same. Ain't life beautiful, people? Alright, this is retarded for a lot of reasons. So, to quickly wrap this up, let's start off with the units sold don't determine the quality of a game. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. At the start of this fucking video of yours, in the pursuit of not looking like a Ubisoft shill, you critiqued two Ubisoft games. One of them being Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And I swear, if you're still watching, there's a point to this. That game, that you said, was a buggy mess, sold 554,000 copies. And even looking into that game, even Ubisoft admitted that this game was a commercial failure. So why are you trying to muddy the waters here by saying a game that sells poorly has nothing to do with the quality of the game? Because, and here's a point here. Maybe, just maybe, the game itself isn't good. And that's why it didn't sell well. Could be a possibility there. Now, you threw some examples into your video, like The Evil Within 2, and Stellar Blade, and Madden, but what the fuck is your point? A game sells is usually unimportant for your average consumer. As they, I don't know, use YouTube, reviewers, and gameplay vids to determine whether or not to buy a game. It's fucking stupid how you invented this new method, where people look at a game's sales number to determine to buy it, when in reality they could just not be interested in the game. Remember, if a game sells poorly, 9 times out of 10, it's usually for a good reason. It's not a gray thing, and it's not mixed. Generally speaking, when people like something, that product tends to usually be good. When people generally don't like something, chances are, that game, or whatever, is trash. Like 9 times out 10. You can argue the numbers there, but generally that's how that works. So, unless you're 9 years old or something, or born literally yesterday, your assessment on how things work are ass. And now, for the final point. Controversy. Now, there's 2 controversial points in this video. But I'll stick with this one, and tackle the second one, later on. So, without further ado. Hogwarts Legacy was not a game built on controversy. I could dig more into it, and if people want to correct me in the comments, feel free to do so, but that game started off good. Positive comments. A lot of views. Thumbs up, and everyone waiting for a new Harry Potter game. That is. Until J.K. Rowling said that like, getting your dick chopped off doesn't make you a woman. Now, she had no involvement with the game. Probably didn't even care about it. But a lot of progressive activists wanted her cancelled. And when that didn't work, they tried to cancel the game. The game was already gonna do well, with or without the controversy. The progressive activists didn't hamper, nor increase the sales of Hogwarts Legacy. That's just the end of it. The controversy didn't help the game succeed. Because it was already succeeding before the activists got mad at J.K. Rowling. Now, with Assassin's Creed Shadows, that game did not start off well. It was controversy city on day one. People complaining, people not liking the combat, the way the game looked. It was hit with mocking comments from people dissing Ubisoft. And most, if not every AC Shadow video up on YouTube got raped. Or ratioed, because no one liked this game. You talked about how controversy sells. But the problem here. You, as per usual, are being disingenuous, yet, again. You did not go into detail, as to why, Hogwarts Legacy, and Assassin's Creed Shadow got its controversy. For the sake of the argument, you just blamed it on both sides being extremists like a dumbass, without seeing what the powder keg explosion was. Not all controversies are the same. So the fact you couldn't even be honest, and tell your audience the difference between the two, is just disgusting. Because here's the difference here. And I'm willing to bet my left nut on this one. Hogwarts Legacy is a game people will talk about forever. And will share with their friends and family. While Assassin's Creed Shadows is a game not too many people will care about in the upcoming weeks and months. Both games, controversial. Yet, only one of them will be beloved. Hence, why I find you to be a snake oil salesman, when you refuse to go over why both of those games became controversial. Not to mention your horrendous take on The Last of Us 2. That game got memed on. And ridiculed by gamers alike. And only sold 10 million units. Compared to their first game, which sold 30 million units. But hey, remember dumbass. Controversy sells. Am I right?
Why are people harassing Hideki Kamiya for saying most normal people don't really care about this controversy whatsoever? You do know that there are various people online that are unplugged from drama, casuals that are unplugged from social media, people who don't know what the fuck is going on right now with this game. It might be a more hardcore gamer side that knows everything about this. Of course, I'm not disputing that, but the casual person, they ain't gonna know what's going on. They're gonna be like, oh, Ubisoft game, let's try it out on Plus, or let's buy the game and see what happens. What did Kamiya say that was wrong? Like, most drama some people don't give a shit about, right? What did he say that was wrong? There are a few, and he said a few. It's not everybody. I can see if he generalized and said, oh, it's everybody. It's not everybody. It's really not. It's not everyone, but a few super intense people are making a fuss about this. It's true. Like, a few super intense people are making a fuss about it, and then there's the demographic that has either decided to play the game or moved on.
I can't taste you on my tongue. A barren landscape where sweetness once clung. I can't smell you in the air. A sterile silence, a vacant prayer. I can't hear you in my heart. Just a hollow echo tearing me apart. Can't even see you in my fears. Lost in the shadows of all these wasted years. I can't taste you on my tongue. I can't smell you in the air. I can't hear you in my heart. No, what a shame. There's a hole again.
The last thing I want to end this video on is the funny shit. All right, you guys are getting cooked by social media managers. How, fam? Hang up the belt. It's over. Roll out the white carpet. It's over. How are you getting cooked by social media managers? Elon Musk fucking, I think it went on record of uh him supposedly having people play games for him. I remember him also saying that, oh, he can't play GTA 5. He can't play GTA 5 because he has to shoot cops in a game about cops and criminals and robbers and all that other shit. So why the fuck, like, where's your backbone? But that's besides the point. You're getting roasted because you don't play your games. You probably pay for platinums at this rate. Is that what the guy that is playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you? Roasted. Roast. You can't come back from that one. Then Grums, and he is the prime snake oil salesman. Like, what happened to Ember Grubs? Like, what happened to Ember 8 or whatever that game is called, where you made this sort of Kickstarter? You got like 600k supporters. People were calling it a scam and whatnot. Like, what happened to your game? Where's your game? Where's your release? And then they roasted you. You talked about some analyst shit, and they roasted you saying, well, our game's out. Where's yours? How are you guys getting dogged?
Alright, this part should be short. Maybe Elon Musk and Grums are not monoliths for the anti-woke. You do know that, right? If not, let me explain. Elon Musk is an entity. That's it. The only person who got roasted that day by Ubisoft account manager, or whatever the fuck they're called, was Elon Musk. That's it. The only person who got cooked was Grums and Elon Musk. I didn't get cooked. People in the anti-woke side didn't get cooked. That's just the end of it. It wasn't a massive own, unless you were Grums or Elon Musk. And surprise, surprise, I don't like Grums or Elon Musk. So this own, you seem to like so much, owning all these weirdos, was localized, not universal. Owning either Elon or Grums is not the same as owning an ideology. Now, if that's not what you meant in that part of the video, my bad. But going by your comments, it sure as hell seemed like you were dogging on the anti-woke, which is your whole shtick. Okay, maybe not all of what you do is that. But you do it, pretty often though. You also bring up voice actors, and that Kamaya guy, and I gotta say, who cares? Because a few voice actors, one fucking game dev who can't gauge the interest of his own countrymen. Who is actually being cooked here? No, I'm being serious here. Besides, literally, a few people. And some people who, specifically, hate Grums and Elon. That own was not a net positive for AC Shadows. It was just a dunk on Grums and Elon. That was it. No one is cooking people wigging out over AC shadows, you fucking idiot. No one is being cooked here. And the general public? Well, I can't really determine what the general public thinks about AC shadows. And guess what, neither can you. I can assume easily, because I'm willing to assume it's not doing too well. You on the other hand. You mistook the dunking of two assholes as some sort of own for people who are, quote-unquote, crashing out over AC shadows. But that's not really much the case here. With Elon, that was just a dunk, the account manager did. And as for Grums, his game is indeed a scam. However, it's been over a week since AC Shadows launched. And Ubisoft has not released any sales figures. So, in my humble opinion, both Grums and Ubisoft look shady as hell to me. One for lying to 600k people on an unreleased game. And the other, for using player numbers in place of sale numbers. So, not much of a difference there. And speaking of which, despite the bodying that account manager did, you can't be stupid enough to think engagement on social media translates to sales, right? Because that roast on Elon, last time I saw, got 35 million plus views. Now, do you really, honestly, think that 35 million view count on Twitter will translate to anything? No, not really. Because engagement on social media means next to nothing. This doesn't even apply to just Ubisoft. This is for everyone. I've seen posts with at least 500k views on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or X. And very few people out of that high engagement rate actually bought that product. In short, the roasting means nothing because it was an isolated own. The people who are cooking these people crashing out don't exist because very few people are crashing out over AC Shadows, and the general public just don't care about this game. And that social media own on Elon did not heavily, or faintly, impact the sales for AC Shadows. Because social media do not sell products. Products sell products, and if people aren't interested in said product, it won't sell.